Hey everybody, Chris and Ken here with IPD. We're out in the R&D facility with our Stage 3 project car, and we're going to talk to you today about two products, the turbo inlet and the charge air pipe, which routes over the top of the motor. Now these were products that we developed to support the Stage 3 kit, but we also want to talk to you today about how they're not only going to support the Stage 3 kit, but they'll also support your factory turbocharger and some of the advantages of going with our pieces. So we're going to get started here and go over each individual component and how they relate with one another. All right, well, we're coming over here to look at the Stage 3 car more and a little closer. We have the engine support brace removed from the vehicle so you can get a better look at the setup on the vehicle with the charge air pipe and the turbo inlet. I'm just going to film over Ken's shoulder so he can go ahead and roll with explaining why we did this and how it came to fruition.
One of the things we did here in support of our Stage 3 kit that is something you don't really find in the industry much is we put on provisions for an external bypass. So there's a boss that comes off over the engine charge air pipe, and there's a boss that comes out of the intake pipe. We've fitted a prototype bypass valve here which still will work and keep all the check engine lights off like the factory setup, but is a much higher volume and a higher performance piece.
So what would a customer do with the stock K24 that say that they wanted to run the over the engine or the charge air pipe and the turbo inlet along with our external diverter valve? And why would they want to run an external diverter valve on a stock setup?
Well, boost stability at top end has always been a concern with the diverter valves in the K24s. There's not nearly the volume through them that you can get through something that's external like this with the larger pipes. The diverter valve that's on the side of the turbo will leave a hole if you remove it. We have developed a piece which will go in and block off that hole so you can disable the stock diverter valve if you choose to go to an external diverter valve.
Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and talk about the turbo inlet, and we're going to take that over to a bench and show everybody what we did to modify and upgrade it and why it's a superior product.
Okay, this is the factory inlet tube. This is actually a brand new one we ordered in part of our R&D process. There's a number of strengths with the factory inlet tube and some weaknesses. Strengths, I like the fact that this has a larger bore where the clamp goes on, which is designed to try and meet and make a smoother flow where it clamps on both ends. Weaknesses, well, you can see if you look at it that it gets narrower here, and it gets very narrow right here at the most turbulent point. This crenellation for flex in the middle of the pipe also creates a lot of disturbance, a lot of turbulence, and will decrease airflow. The biggest weakness of these that concerns people is that as this plastic gets older and it's exposed to the heat and the petrochemicals under the hood, it gets brittle. Even the tiniest hole or crack in this pipe will set metered check engine lights for this car. It's a constant problem with these vehicles. The typical solution in the industry is to use a multi-piece assembly to replace a pipe like that. They'll use pieces of metal pipe and silicone elbows and extensions. There's a couple of weaknesses here. One is that the silicone is typically not very strong and will collapse under vacuum load and if something's pushing against it. It also can wear through quite easily. This one is worn through quite a bit in the time that it was on the car, and eventually that will start leaking, and even the smallest leak will cause a check engine light. Every place that the silicone is clamped to the piping, there will also be turbulence generated by the crimping around the piping. And if you don't have this crimping around the piping, then the pieces will tend to blow apart. I've also seen times when it will begin to discolor when exposed to petrochemicals. Here's the new IPD inlet pipe for the K24 models. It fits all R models, and it fits the 2005 and later K24 models. This is a 7-layer reinforced pipe with wire between the third and fourth layer. That's so that it will not collapse like other silicone does.
Let's get a shot of that again, Ken. Go ahead and push down on that. There you go.
A lot of people expressed concern on some of the forums about the fact that that will cause turbulence inside, but if you look down inside the pipe, you'll discover that there actually is no sign of the wrapping inside. It's a smooth bore pipe. This kind of one-piece design has the significant advantage of it lacks all the unions that are on a multi-piece design usually. So the tube is really solid and has nothing to disturb the flow between the air mass meter and the turbo. Here you can see we've added this boss. That's to put on an external diverter if you wish. If you're not going to use an external diverter, you are welcome to cut this boss back and put the plug down closer, just so this isn't in way of your installation.
Now that we went over the turbo inlet, we're going to go ahead and cover the charge air pipe. Head over to the bench and we're going to go ahead and show the factory pieces compared to our upgraded silicone version.
Wanted to show you both of these because these pieces illustrate some of the issues that we've had with these pipes in the past. One is, this is the factory V-band component. It fits on the 2004 and 2005 models. Volvo felt that the V-band was the best way to go on those models, and they've used this. What that means is that this doesn't just fit on with a hose clamp. You have to have a piece on the turbo that matches this. That's complicated. A lot of people want to modify their cars and then they have trouble fitting the pieces around it. One of the things we did is that we created a V-band adapter. This piece actually bolts directly onto the turbo on your car for the 2004 and 2005 models, so that you will then have a spigot sticking up which you can just put a normal 2-inch silicone hose onto. This V-band adapter is available on our website.
It also includes a new seal as well. You might want to point out where the seal is located on there that goes down into the compressor cover.
So this looks exactly the same. There's a seal ring that goes there, and there's a seal ring that goes there on the factory unit.
Yep.
This fits in exactly in the same place and clamps on with the factory clamp. One of the reasons we did this is because if you look down inside this pipe, you'll see that the way they've unioned this V-band with the over-the-engine pipe is not a very good flowing setup. That's one of the weaknesses of this design. Also, this aluminum design has a history of chafing and rubbing on other things. In this particular car, it was rubbing on the power steering line, and eventually this would have created a hole, which would have caused check engine lights and problems for this owner. Okay, this is the pipe that fits the later cars and fits the majority of the cars. It has really just a one-piece design for the plastic portion. It does have mount tabs to it. The aluminum one had these fancy brackets. This one had plastic mount tabs which are molded onto it. One of the problems is when people get under the hood and start leaning on this pipe, the tabs break off. This one is broken off here. Because this is all a one-piece unit, it's really easy to crack this, break it at any of the tabs, and this pipe is now useless and will cause check engine lights on your car. This is the new IPD high flow over the engine charge air pipe. This is made with our 7-layer silicone process. It has reinforcing wiring in it so that it won't collapse under pressure. As you can tell, there's virtually no way that you can crack this pipe, so it's not susceptible to the same failures as the original one. This also includes the matching boss if you want to run a external bypass to go along with the intake pipe.
You can actually virtually see the wire ribbing running through the whole length of this pipe as well.
But again, just as with the intake pipe, even though you see that ribbing on the outside, it's actually a smooth pipe on the inside, smoother even than the stock pipe. It does not reduce in different areas than the stock pipe did. While this pipe may seem expensive, keep in mind that it's less prone to failure than the stock units, that it only has a union on each end and there are no extra clamps and turbulence created. If you need to replace the stock pipes, replacing the stock black plastic pipe with the hoses that attach costs more than $200, and replacing the aluminum one costs more than $500. Again, like with our inlet pipe, we started out making this part for our stage 3 kit. Then we kind of altered where we were headed a little bit, changed the adapters, and we made it so that this pipe can fit on virtually any turbocharged S60 and V70 model.
If you guys have any more questions regarding these pieces, feel free to email or call myself or Ken. We'd love to chat with you about it, or give you any more information related to these pieces.